Okay. So let's break this down. The courts of the state shall have personal jurisdiction over any person who obtains a judgment in a defamation proceeding outside the United States. So in the other part, in the earlier part, we were talking about the defamation within the United States is not something that could be brought up. This is literally like outside of the United States. This is defamation judgment. Foreign defamation judgment is the title of this, which is 302D in the CPLR. So what they're saying is that oh my God, it's so dark in here. I can't see. Personal jurisdiction over any person who obtains a judgment in a defamation proceeding outside the United States against any person who is a resident of New York. So let's say Tom is from Switzerland and Rob is from New York. He's a resident of New York, right? So the defamation suit, Tom from Switzerland is suing Rob in New York for defamation, okay? Or is a person or entity amendable to jurisdiction in New York who has assets in New York. So Rob has assets in New York, or may have to take action in New York to comply with the judgment. Oh no, I think they're talking about Tom, because they're saying that he has to comply with the judgment. I'm not sure about that. For the purposes of rendering declaratory relief with respect to that person's liability for the judgment, for the judgment, and or for the purpose of determining whether said judgment should be deemed non-recognizable pursuant to section 5304 of this chapter to the fullest extent permitted by the United States Constitution, provided the publication at issue was published in New York. So Rob would have had to publish that defamatory statement in New York. It had to be published in New York. And that resident, which would be Rob, or person amendable to jurisdiction in New York, one, has assets in New York which might be used to satisfy foreign defamation judgment. So Rob has the assets to satisfy the judgment, or may have to take actions in New York to comply with foreign defamation judgment. So maybe he has to get something from New York. I'm sorry, I'm having trouble reading and seeing this because I don't have a good setup here. With the foreign defamation judgment, the provisions of this subdivision shall apply to persons who obtain judgments in defamation proceedings outside the United States prior to and or after the effective date of this subdivision. All right, so let's read the quizzer question that is related to this. Okay. Plaintiff, a UK domiciliary means without the state, outside of the state, obtains a defamation judgment against defendant, a New York domiciliary, for comments appearing in the UK and New York. There we go. We have the New York publication. Plaintiff obtains a judgment in the UK and seeks to attach assets of defendant in New York. The New York courts have personal jurisdiction, and the answer is over the plaintiff and defendant. Why? Because Rob, remember Rob from New York? He created the defamation by posting it in the New York publication. So right away, he's in on that. And then the plaintiff, hold on. Personal judgment. He obtained the judgment. So the person who obtains a judgment in defamation proceeding outside the United States against any person who is a resident of New York or is a person or entity amendable to jurisdiction in New York, who has assets in New York or may have to take actions in New York to comply with the judgment for the purposes of rendering declaratory relief, I'm trying to get to the part, should be deemed non-recognizable pursuant to section to the fullest extent permitted. I don't know. I don't see anything where it specifically says that he's part of the jurisdiction. I'm trying to find that, where it says that. I don't find anything where it exactly says that. But that's the implication with that answer being that. Shall have personal... Oh, here it is. It's in the first sentence. Duh. The courts of this state shall have personal jurisdiction over any person who obtains a judgment. So Tom obtained a judgment in the UK in defamation proceeding outside the United States. There it is. So that first paragraph makes Tom from Switzerland under the jurisdiction in New York. And then Rob is under the jurisdiction because he's the one that did the defamation, and it was published in a New York paper or publication. So that's what gives you that answer of plaintiff and defendant. Okay, so we're going to do the other two questions, which is, I don't know if I'm going to put it in one video or two. This may be in two videos. I already read the beginning of the first one, so I'm going to just, that's for the beginning of 302. Section 302 of the CPLR. I already read that in the other video, so I'm just going to reference it here as we answer the quizzer question. Okay, so the ABC Company, a corporation located and doing business in Ohio, manufactures a defective spray which is distributed nationally. The spray can has a propensity to explode, nice, and cause severe physical injury to the user. Jones, a New York State resident, could obtain New York long-arm jurisdiction over ABC in which of the following instances? Jones is injured when he uses the spray can in New York. Jones is injured when he uses the spray can on a motor trip in New Jersey. Jones is injured when he uses the spray can in Ohio. And the answer is 1. He's injured when he uses the spray can in New York. So let's look at what the quizzer's reasoning is going to be. CPLR 302A3 enables the state to exercise long-arm jurisdiction over any non-domiciliary if the non-domiciliary commits a tortious act without the state manufacturing a defective product causing injury to a person within the state. Yeah, so that's in 3. So if I jump to the CPLR here, this is right in number 3. So the non-domiciliary commits a tortious act without the state causing injury to the person or property within the state, right? So ABC is without the state. They sent that can, it exploded and causes injury to somebody who's in the state, which is Rob. No, that's a different example. Does this guy have a name? No, it just says New York. New York resident. He's just New York resident. So it causes an injury to him because it exploded in New York State. So that gives the New York State person long-arm jurisdiction over ABC Company. Let's see what else it says. If the non-domiciliary expects or should reasonably expect the act to have consequences in the state, is a national distributor and derives substantial revenue from interstate commerce. There it is, a substantial revenue. I talk about that in the other videos, so I'm going to do 2 parts. This is going to be part 2. Make sure you look at part 1 where I really break it down. choice D is correct. All other choices are incorrect because, am I looking at the right question? I can't seem to get it together tonight. Hold on a second. Oh. Yeah, D is 1. Okay, I just wanted to make sure. So choice D is correct. All other choices are incorrect because the injury occurred outside New York State, right? So the other two answers, the injury occurred outside New York State, right? Injured when he used a spray can on a motor trip to New Jersey, and injured when he used a spray can in Ohio. All right, let's go to the next one. This one is the one that was very tricky and hard for me to understand, so I think I got it now. Quinn's Quilting is a small home-based handcrafting company located in Utah. Quinn usually makes handcraft items and sells them from his porch. In order to meet demand, Quinn has hastened production, thereby crafting defective products. In an action commenced in a New York court by Roberts, a New York resident, New York could obtain long-arm jurisdiction over Quinn in which of the following situations? A, Roberts buys a defective product from Quinn in Utah and is injured by the product in New York. Roberts sues for damages sustained by the injury. B, Quinn travels to Glen Falls, New York, to sell Roberts a non-defective